when you go back to the very start, what is there before that? And that, I think I asked you last time, and Professor Meyer brought that up again as being the flaw in your position, which is what is there before it starts? What is nothing?
This is a question for a physicist, not a biologist, but what I would answer to Professor Meyer is that we need to explain complexity in terms of simplicity. And of course it's true that I cannot say what was there before the Big Bang. Physicists sometimes tell us that the word before doesn't even mean anything before the Big Bang.
Can we be serious about this topic and stop trying to play gotcha games all the time? That's always what it is. It's these gotcha games. It's these side shifting. It's this redirection instead of us talking about just like the real topic. Is there a God? Is there not? You know, what's the evidence? What's there's not? You know, what's the evidence for evolution? What's not? Can we, be for real about these things? But what we always see is these gotcha games, especially coming from the atheist camp of like, well, see how it says mean things in the Bible? There you go. That's why it's not real. That doesn't prove anything. All it does is side shift and twist the conversation into something that isn't really the core of it and isn't really what we're all talking about here.
But whatever it was, it
but it
got to be
has to,
simple.
doesn't it?
You cannot suddenly invoke.
Doesn't it have to? Someone as logical as you are, and I believe you are, you think about this all very logically. A logical mind surely has to appreciate that before the Big Bang, there has to have been something before then. Otherwise, what is nothing?
Physicists will tell you that
yeah, but what do you tell me?
I'm trying to tell you what a physicist would say first of all. They would say that you cannot use the word before for the Big Bang. Time began at the Big Bang. There was no before the Big Bang. I know it's contrary to common sense. Physicists don't necessarily deal with common sense.
Physicists, and we just say words, physicists, over and over again, as if that matters, as if we can't be serious and have real life serious conversations. You know that stoners get stoned every night and have this conversation, and they're not physicists. So this arrogant conversation that, well, we can't talk about it because physicists said that there's no before. And it's like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb and dismissive. And that's the point of what you're really trying to do here. You're trying to dismiss the conversation and dismiss the argument by twisting it and diverting it over here into something else that no one's talking about.
We are not physicists. I, like you, am completely baffled by what physicists say to me, which is that you cannot use the word before for before the Big Bang. Time itself began at the Big Bang. Now that is totally counterintuitive. It's counterintuitive to me, it's counterintuitive to you, it's counterintuitive to Stephen Meyer, but we are not physicists. And you need to talk to a physicist. Talk to a physicist about that. And they will tell you that you cannot use the word before for the Big Bang.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Yeah, but you think that's as preposterous as I do.
I do because I'm not a physicist.
At the same time, he's not a theist. He's not trained in theology. He's not trained in seminary. But he'll run around talking all kinds of trash about the church, talking all kinds of trash about Christianity. But at the same time, oh, nope, I can't talk about physicists or physics because I'm just the biologist. You'll run your mouth about everything else, but not this. And only because you're side shifting, trying to eliminate the word before so that you don't have to answer the question.
Why would you then think that a physicist cannot be contradicted just simply because they're a physicist? I can contradict what you say as a biologist.
No, you really aren't getting it. I'm so sorry. Modern physics is exceedingly mysterious. It really is. I mean, have you tried to read some of the difficult modern physics books? It really is very difficult to understand.
No. We really do understand the situation. You're trying to manipulate us to try to dismiss the word before, sidestep the whole conversation so that you don't have to say that you have no answer for what was before nothing or everything. How did everything get here? You have no answer. And instead of saying you have no answer, you just make up some nonsense about how physicists, these textbooks really are just so hard to understand. And no, you really just don't No, you really don't understand that we're on to your game.
And intuition doesn't do it. You cannot use human intuition. Human intuition was built up by evolution over many millions of years to survive on the African plain, hunting and gathering, looking for water holes, looking for mates and so on.
What are you even talking about? You're just making stuff up now as you go to side shift away from the conversation. Now it's our brains aren't evolved enough, but a couple dudes are, a couple of physicists, they're the ones, only them, they're the only smart people. If you didn't go into physics and you're not a physicist, you're not smart. You can't think, like, what? How dumb is this? This is dumb. This is so dumb to think like this. It's so dismissive as well, just to pretend to be so smart and then not want to engage in the conversation is so disingenuous. And for so many people to believe this atheist crap is just so amazing to me. Because people run around saying, you can't talk about before. You can't talk about before because it's not a before. It's a physicist.
But think about this for a moment. Doesn't the theist have the same problem?
No. And that's, I guess, the point you atheists aren't getting. We don't have the same problem that you do. Because we're saying that God is the thing that created everything. And you're saying that everything is from nothing and you have no explanation for it. And instead of answering that or saying that you have no explanation for that, you talk about mysteries and wonders, and then you side shift over into this, we can't talk about it before. We know that there was no before. We know that. That's not the question. The question is, how do you answer for it? I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. How do you answer for no before? How do you answer for everything now if there was no before? We have the answer. Theists or believers in a God have that answer. You do not. There's no answer for atheists as to how.
If you want to invoke a cause which is sufficient to explain the origin of matter, you can't invoke matter. It's in principle, the materialistic explanations are in principle insufficient. So you need to invoke something which is external to the material universe and is not bounded by time and space as well.
You can't have a watch without a watchmaker. It's just that simple. And then at the same time, the watchmaker can't be part of the watch. The same way a legend on a map isn't actually the map itself, or the map can't be its own directions to a place. These are not really that hard of concepts to understand. It's just that they get conflated by atheists for the purpose intention of manipulation to damn people to hell. I mean, they are the antichrists. That's simple.
I mean, there is a sense in which my brain simply can't think of nothing, but in the same way, I can't think of, say, not an elephant. I can't think of the concept of, like, no elephants, because in order to focus on the concept of no elephants, I have to have this concept of an elephant in my head. And so while it's possible for there to actually be no elephants in my cognitive perception, I can't conceive of this abstract concept of no elephants, because in order to do so, I kind of have to think about an elephant. But we shouldn't confuse our inability to picture something or comprehend something or entertain an idea with its impossibility. After all, it's possible for there to be no elephants. But just think about that concept of no elephants for a moment. Are you thinking of an elephant?
I mean, your concept makes sense if you already have the material thing here. And that's the twisting of this argument, is to say the material thing is already here. So the universe already exists, and so therefore it evolved. But that's the problem. It couldn't have already been here to then evolve, because that's what we're asking is, how did the Big Bang happen if all of this wasn't already here? This is the conversation. It's not no elephants. I'm saying, what's a nargle? That's the problem. Think of no nargles. We don't actually know what a nargle looks like. We know that Harry Potter talked about it. but we don't know what a nargle looks like. So picture no nargles and then think nothing, because you don't actually have a concept of what a nargle looks like, but you do once you've seen it. So think about the concept of nothingness in the way that you've never actually seen the thing, not that you've already seen it and then trying to unsee it. As the old saying goes, some things you just can't unsee. If you're still with us, consider hitting that like and subscribe button, comment and share. Follow us on these other platforms, Rumble, X, and Telegram. Thanks again for watching.
Check you later. Check you later. What is that?